theme of From Hardware to Hardware. I'm Pei San from Transformation Office, and I'll be moderating this session for the afternoon. So before I introduce our panelists, let me just orientate you to the session. So for those of you who are on the microsite, you'll see two text panels next to the live screen. That's where you can key in comments for one another. And if you have questions for the panelists, do type them in the Q&A box and we'll pick them up to be posed to the panelists later. You can also upvote a question by clicking on the like button next to it. Okay, so for today's session, it's on placemaking. If this is the first time you're hearing the term and wondering what this is, you're in the right place. So this afternoon, we have a couple of panelists here with us who will attempt to demystify the concept and share their experiences with you. So let me just step through who we have here. We have Ms. Eileen Han. She's the Director of Community Partnership South Region from LTA. We also have Mr. Wu Wiming from Policy and Planning of LTA. Mr. Ho Kwai Yao from the North-South Corridor, LTA. We also have with us Mr. Lorenzo Petrillo, is the founder and managing director of Lope Lab. I hope I got that correct. And Ms. Lin Yan Ling, she's senior place manager from the URA. So the format for the afternoon is that each panelist will take about 10 minutes to give us a short overview of their experiences with placemaking. And thereafter, we'll have an open conversation and Q&A. So to kick off the sharing, let me invite Eileen to give an overview of what placemaking is and LTA's journey so far on this. Eileen, over to you.
Thank you, Pei San. And good afternoon to all. I'm Eileen from CPN, and I hope you had a good lunch. Okay, I hope to align our understanding of what placemaking is and to show you that placemaking is not new to LTA. Everyone in, sorry, can you hear me? Oh.
Okay, sure. So, is the slide okay?
Yeah. I can't see the. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Some technical glitch. Okay, sorry. I restart again. Okay. So today I'm here to align our understanding of what placemaking is and to show you that placemaking is not new to LTA. Everyone in LTA can do placemaking. So placemaking may not be totally unfamiliar with many of you, but what exactly it is? So what is shown here in the slide is some different forms of placemaking. But placemaking is more than all this. Placemaking is a multidisciplinary approach, a robust yet iterative process where we have to set clear objectives, KPIs, review and improve along the way. It should not be once off where you set and forget about it. So in the placemaking literature, there are so many different definitions out there with big technical jargons. In a very layman term, placemaking is just about transforming a place that you can't wait to get through to one that you want to linger because there's so many things you can do there. We transform a space to a place. So is placemaking new to LTA? I'll show you in my next few slides some example of the good work that many of you here have contributed to placemaking. Okay, this slide here attempts to give an overview of the wide range of placemaking work. They are ranked against the time, effort needed, and the impact that the project can bring. The classification of project here is meant to take everyone through the wide range of placemaking possibility, but should not be seen as labor to each placemaking project. For lighter, quicker projects such as programming, its impact is only often enhancing because vibrancy is there when the event is there. Otherwise, the space is just business as usual. Next step up, temporary or permanent physical interventions, where you can put in street furniture, art pieces, landscaping, wayfinding signs. The impact is improving in nature. Okay, moving up next. We have regular street closure, silver zone, school zones. Such initiative needs thorough planning and sometimes civil works, but its impact is targeted at changing people's behavior. And the most impactful projects we have are like road repurposing projects, redevelopment, and even policy review, where it involves long-term planning and multi-department agency coordination. Okay, just to note, placemaking is very versatile and encompassing. It can straddle across different categories. Okay, let's zoom into some examples that LTA has done in terms of programming sort of placemaking. This is an example of a friendly street at Jalan Bintang 3, where CPM partnered with a respectable and enduring non-profit organization like the Singapore Kindness Movement to promote norms on the shared use of connectivity spaces, which also helps to foster closer neighborly relationship. Inspired by the Friendly Street project, CPN started Community Street Initiative this year to identify and nurture more streets to create buzz and vibrancies within the communities. It aims to create a shared sense of ownership and endearment in line with our mission of delivering not just hard infrastructure, but quality and communally rooted connectivity. Placemaking can also be events at MRT station to create buzz. Okay. For physical intervention sort of placemaking, we have the following example. Commuter infrastructure is like next slide, please. Commuter infrastructure is like LTA's bread and butter core work, designed, built, and maintained by different teams in LTA. Yet many of us didn't think that this is placemaking in nature as well. Okay, sorry, I think I need to let the slide catch up. Okay. Okay, murals on footpath, underpass help create delightful walking experience, and it's great for community involvement. Example you see here are the underpass at Singapore River and floor murals at Circuit Road. We have a few good example of placemaking at MRT station in this slide here. Okay. I'm sure many of you have noticed our art in transit at the MRT station when you take the train. For example, the floor tiles with Chinese calligraphy characters at Chinatown Station. This is a 25 years effort of using art to humanize our transit environment and make commuting more enjoyable. We showcase Singapore artists, involve communities, and build people's sense of identity to the station. Another example we are very familiar with is the Move in Groove program. And our Move in Groove program effort has also been widely endorsed by local and international media, something which we are very proud of. Next, we look at examples from LTA on regular street closures and special zone, which aims at promoting change in behavior towards safer commuting. The Safe Route to School program partners school and its community to chime in to make neighborhood more enlivened with interesting street signs and also to influence people's behavior towards safe and sustainable walk cycle ride. Another successful case of LTA and community placemaking partnership is the Silver Zone along Whampoa Drive. This is where we gain strong support of the CCC to convert a section of the service road into public space, where wider footpath, benches, and large landscaping. Last but not least, even though this category of projects are largely regarded as engineering infra project in LTA perspective, they are placemaking too. As part of LTMP 2040 and in line with our CarLight vision, we work with local communities to repurpose roads for a more pleasant and safer street, better walk cycle ride, and to create more community spaces. NSC is another big project where the NSC team actively sought to inject placemaking at many levels. So, why should LTA champion placemaking? Because we want to create vibrant, sustainable, livable communities to multiply the value of our land transport infrastructure. LTA's core work has always revolved around building hard infrastructure. But with placemaking, we bring the focus back to specific place and its communities. We actively involve communities to take in their views to build consensus so that we can better deliver livable transport infrastructure. We enhance the first and last mile connectivity for commuters. We promote active mobility as a lifestyle choice to commute in a sustainable and healthy manner. With the community's involvement, we enliven transport nodes and its surrounding precinct. So why placemaking? Because placemaking creates great places, which are also livable. And places like this are like natural magnets that we want to live, work, and play in. What you see on the slides are the 4 key attributes to great places. Through placemaking, we constantly build on these attributes and multiply them in every places where we have influence over. So how then can LTA amplify placemaking in our work? Placemaking is highly contextual. So cookie cutter solution, while it may be efficient and cost effective, but may not please everyone. Adopting the placemaking lens in your everyday work, contributing your expertise to customized solution has 3 key benefits. Helps empower communities. You will realize that all the work need not fall onto LTA's shoulder. It's about strategically finding partners who can co-deliver an outcome that serve your objective and also theirs. Drives user-centric design. Placemaking is about having diverse conversations, tapping into rich insights, and sharing a platform to understand each other's proposals and constraints. Maybe time-consuming, but it allows us to better balance the trade-off and to cater to users' needs. Placemaking attracts partners, resources, creative solutions. Conversation opens doors to partnership. Like-minded who share the same vision and outcome for a place or project will work together and contribute their time, energy, and resources. Outcome may not be perfect, but it builds people's sense of ownership and empowerment. It is the process we are aiming to multiply. So by adopting the place-led development approach, placemaking moves from a one-time temporary intervention into a more structural and intentional way of urban development. To incorporate placemaking in LTA such that it becomes our second nature, we have mapped out 3 steps of development for placemaking. Firstly, we will actively share placemaking, showcase successful local examples, and build rapport both internally and externally. Next, we coordinate placemaking, synergize effort from different partners, stage for collaborations. By doing this, we hold space for divergent views, find middle ground, and build consensus. Lastly, this is the end goal that we should aim for. Placemaking being at the forefront of every LTA officer's thought process. At this stage, we see officers able to adopt human scale, city at eye level, user-centric considerations to do their work. We see officers embrace the iteration process and cater placemaking upstream in the planning process. there's also conscious effort to stage for downstream placemaking, including community involvement, and cater a budget in every project for placemaking to take flight. Placemaking will not work if it is seen as a job of an individual or one particular department in LTA. Placemaking thrives when every team member, regardless of your background or department, champions for it together. You are all expert in your area and can design how you can incorporate placemaking in your everyday work. So today, I will leave you with this quote from Steve Jobs. Hope this inspires you to think about how you would do your same work differently so that you can better connect people and places and enhance travel experience better. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Eileen, for that sharing. Really love the point about, going beyond the hard infrastructure and incorporating placemaking into our DNA. So Eileen has given us the big picture of what is placemaking and what LTA has done so far. Our next two speakers will dive deeper into their own projects. So first up, I'd like to invite Wee Ming to take us through how they piloted placemaking at MRT stations. Wee Ming,
Yep.
over?
Yeah, thanks, Pei Shan. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Wee Ming from the Policy Non-Fare team. So for my sharing, I'll go through the genesis of how we came to conceptualize placemaking pilots in MRT stations for 3 precincts. Hopefully the thought process and the journey that we went through will be useful for LTA colleagues who are similarly keen to push for such initiatives. Next. Yeah, so it actually started with a challenge from CE, not too long after he joined LTA. I think it was a meeting in October or November 2020. He cited his experience with train stations in the civic district, where in other cities, you would know that you have arrived in the civic district, I think the moment you set foot in certain stations, because you'll be able to see clear linkages to nearby museums or also information on the events and exhibitions that were ongoing. Here in Singapore, there isn't like the same effect. I think our stations are generally more functional in nature and doesn't feel as integrated with the identity of the surrounding precinct. So the challenge was essentially how to enhance the vibrancy in our stations and better integrate these stations with its surrounding precinct. We knew that the quickest way to get something going was to find partners who are already aligned with the same objectives and want to achieve the same goals. Then the resourcing that is needed, right, to get something going can be shared among all of the partners. So the first thing that we did was to reach out to the key stakeholders in the civic district. We spoke to many different people, I think URA, NHB, Arts House Limited, and Parks. Well, the intent was to better understand the landscape and establish a champion within the precinct to collaborate with us and also our PTOs. And beyond the civic district, we also discussed with URA and STB on where else might they have interest from their larger placemaking mandate. So from this engagement, we realized that the main barriers that deters stakeholders from intensifying advertising and activation efforts in MRT station is cost. I think it was, it's quite intuitive now you think about it. So generally when these stakeholders approach our PTOs to ask for spaces for precinct branding or wayfinding, the response that they get would just be the standard commercial rates that needs to be charged. And many of these stakeholders, I mean, imagine the museums and the arts institutions, they will feel that they're not able to afford those rates. But being the policy team that is also in charge of optimizing non-fare revenue, we were also mindful of the trade-offs from over-imposing on our PTOs to offer up free spaces that could otherwise be used for commercial advertisements. So we knew what we needed to do was to work with the PTOs, identify like underutilized spaces that either are not being taken up by the commercial entities or are not taken up all the time within these stations, spaces that the PTOs themselves would be willing to provide the placemakers. Of course, we also pitched to the PTOs that this is a win-win. Having a precinct champion come in, right, to use up these spaces that you were not really using in the first place, it will certainly make the station more vibrant and hopefully also raise the profile of the stations if it generate interest. And over time, then maybe ad buyers may also see greater value and come in to buy the spaces at commercial rates. Next. Yeah, so with that, we established roles for the different stakeholders. Put simply, it was about matching supply with demand. Supply of underutilized spaces from the PTOs and demand from wayfinding, precinct branding kind of initiatives that the placemakers want to introduce in our stations. And LTA, we saw ourselves as playing like a matchmaking role in this initial stage because we knew that it was not enough to just introduce new rules and principles to the stakeholders. I think it's always important for a third-party facilitator to smoothen the initial interactions. Like you have to talk to the PTOs on one hand that, you have your commercial hat, but then I think this is like a larger impetus that we all care about. So when the placemakers come in, right, there's a lot of value in what they have to offer. And then on the other hand, of course, when we work with the placemakers, the Arts House Limited and all that, we also have to manage the expectations and all that and hope that something can come out of it. Next. Yeah, so we eventually landed on 3 different precincts to pilot this working arrangement. How we chose this Civic District mainly was because of CE's guidance and to work with all these arts institutions and museums. Kampong Glam was a bit more opportunistic because from our engagement with URA, we realized that actually URA was going to focus quite heavily on coming up with a place plan for Kampong Glam. Yan Ling, who will be speaking later, is from that URA team. And so we thought there's clearly synergies for us, right, to integrate what URA intended to do with what we want to achieve in our stations. Then Orchard Road was something that the PTOs themselves suggested. So we thought we should include something that, the PTOs felt more strongly about. So we tried to pilot it in these 3 different precincts and see how it goes. In terms of staffing, right, so from my small team of 4 policy officers, I basically asked 2 of them, Jeremy and Hannah, to jaga these 3 precincts, work with the stakeholders to see if they can make something happen. I think it was sort of above and beyond the usual core policy work that they were typically handling. But they both had the drive and resilience to cultivate the stakeholders and nudge them into doing something concrete. I think oftentimes we work like this, where we are only playing the facilitator role, getting officers with the right mindset, energy level, enthusiasm is really a key recipe for success. Because you need to keep pushing at it, right? And there are no quick wins and it's not very structured. You're just trying to get something going. We also work very closely with our architect colleague Suilin, who's in charge of signages in our stations, and also real licensing team under Jerry. Because there are all these competing but necessary users of spaces and considerations in our stations that we have to think about, and many different trade-offs we have to look into when looking to free up spaces. And it's always energizing when you have this like small little project teams of like-minded people working towards the same goal. Next. So fortunately for us, we did have some initial success. In the Civic District, primarily City Hall and Raffles Place stations, we mainly work with Arts House Limited because it was the placemaking champion identified by the Civic District Alliance. So at least we had a central party to work through and help us coordinate on the placemaking side. We managed to get Arts House Limited to display placemaking and wayfinding material in City Hall and Raffles Place MRT stations. We didn't, the PTOs didn't charge them any media rates, like rental rates for occupying the spaces. But Arts House Limited did have to bear the production cost, which we thought was fair. So whatever material that you produce, you cover the cost. But on our end, we don't charge you the rental rates for taking up the space. Next. So you can see the examples here. The material, I think they're still there in the stations now. Well, there are, of course, challenges along the way, and not everything is smooth sailing. For instance, right, so there has now been interest by commercial entities that want to take up some of these spaces that we're using. And I think naturally SMRT has to start thinking about gradually charging for the use of such spaces. But Arts House Limited, representing the arts institutions and the museums and all that, they have made it quite clear that they're not even able to pay like 10% of typical media rates. Basically, they can't pay any like rental rates to use the space, but they're okay to pay the production cost. So such is the extent of their financial difficulties and the budget. So on our end, we're now thinking of potentially introducing like digital screens in one of the more prominent locations permanently for placemaking use. So that the cost that's required from the arts institutions will always be kept low, mainly towards the cost of producing content. But the discussions are still ongoing. We have to work through all of the trade-offs and the details. Next. Yeah, and in Kampong Glam, we also work with URA and the Kampong Glam Alliance to put up some posters that played up the Kampong Glam identity. Actually, what we're doing here is we're trying to establish a Bugis station more clearly as the gateway into Kampong Glam. there's actually a very large wall at Bugis Station, the Green Line site, Exit B, that we're trying to activate. It's the site that connects to Downtown Line. But I think so far we've only managed to activate the smaller spaces because the resourcing that's needed to activate the larger wall, like to put up a mural or the labor and manpower costs related and all that is quite substantial. And I think this period with all the COVID impact, the Kampong Glam stakeholders have really felt it quite sorely. Like you mentioned the small businesses, right? And so these placemaking initiatives are not exactly the top of mind at the moment. But I think we learned a lot of valuable lessons along the way that placemaking really is a process that takes time. And LTA needs to be prepared to walk the journey for the longer term to be able to see meaningful results. Next. So in Orchard Road, we work with STB as well to put up some posters for their tourism campaign. But unlike Civic District and Kampong Glam, we haven't gone as deep to work with the ground associations or entities there. Essentially, we focus more time and effort on the earlier two precincts, the Civic District and the Kampong Glam areas. Next. Okay, so I've come to the end of my short sharing. I just want to conclude by saying that what we have done for the MRT station pilots, right, is really just the beginning, right? We've only just touched base and then fostered some relationship with some of these groups, right? And the one thing that plays a lot on my mind is how to make these efforts sustainable, right? Such that they're not just one-off initiatives because we happen to be pushing harder right here and now. And I think the way to ensure sustainability really is to build ownership from the ground groups, because only when these ground groups, right, champion the initiatives and care about it, right, can we ensure that there will be continuity in the initiatives. Like in the longer term, they'll continue to program these spaces, continue to think about coming up with content, right? So the onus is not all just on LTA centrally pushing down these ideas. But this is precisely the hard part, right? Because it takes time and effort to work with all these groups, and you have different groups in different precincts. So we have started small, we've only looked at 3, and in fact, we even focus just on 2, right? And it takes a lot of time to build up trust and good working relationship with them such that they can become real partners. So I think fortunately for us in LTA, we do have our CPN team that is plugged into the ground and can help to foster such relationships. But like Eileen said earlier, right, so all of us have to also do our part to look for opportunities and partners through the work that we do. And we can kickstart some of these pilots even with the limited resources each of us has. So hopefully this sharing has been helpful for you guys. Yep, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Wei-Ming. As well as I was listening, I picked up a couple of words like, matchmaking, facilitated, energy, and like your ending point about how we need to sustain the effort so that it's not just us driving it. Those are certainly points we'll come back to later on in the discussion. I just want to invite Kwai Yao up next so that he can share with us also his experience about what took place along the North-South corridor, where we have converted noise barriers into a very nice, beautiful mural. Kwai Yao?
Yeah, thank you, Pei San, for your introduction. This is, hi everyone, this is Kwai Yao from the NSC group. Today I have the privilege to share with everyone here on a very special placemaking pilot project that happens in the Kampong Glam area. It was actually implemented in the collaboration with agencies and communities. But which project am I talking about? All right, our noise barriers actually have been used as a canvas for graffiti painting and street arts, which eventually became a very colorful piece of placemaking, and also the very first graffiti hall of fame in the whole of Southeast Asia. Well, this was done along about 240 meter stretch of noise barriers, which was installed along Ophir Road and right in front of the Kampong Glam shophouses, somewhere near Bali Lane. All right, this was actually collectively created by 17 Singapore-based artists and brought together by this association called One Kampong Glam, in short, OKG. All right, and of course, this was jointly supported and collaborated with among LTA, URA, and STB. Okay, maybe we move to the next slide. And before I could move on to talk more about this graffiti wall, right? Here are some information about NSC project itself. All right, NSC is when completed is going to be the longest transit priority corridor with a total length of 21.5 kilometer, and that includes 12.3 kilometer of tunnel in the south and 8.8 kilometer of viaduct in the north. And it's going to connect directly from the north to the south, where the city center is. And literally, this is going to be a north-south corridor. Well, once it's completed, we have all this traffic can be brought down underground to the tunnel or on top to the viaduct. And with that, it really opens up opportunities for more road repurposing and more reimagination of the road space, and as well as more transit priority features, as well as, well, definitely more placemaking opportunities, right? But maybe we move to the next slide. Before we can actually come to that stage, right, we have to construct these major infrastructures, which is the tunnel and the viaduct structures. Okay, take for instance, over here, right, somewhere near the city center at the southern end of NSC, all right, below Ophir Road, we are going to build a major twin cell box road tunnel, which is right smack in front of a row of shop houses in Kampong Glam. And if you take a closer look at this slide, right, our tunnel wall is just 1.5 meter away from the building, the shop house. And imagine that we are going to do our diaphragm wall, ground improvement, that sort of things. And before we could even do that, we'll be swinging our traffic, multiple traffic diversions, and that's it's really it's a real concern when it comes to, imagine you are the tenants or the shop owners, all right? But well, these concerns, we being the engineers, right, we can take care of things like engineering safety, construction safety, noise, dust control, and at the same time, we even can accommodate to the best of our effort in terms of the duration and timing. But we will still have to erect very tall noise barriers, which is just right in front of their shop houses. And we are talking about 2-story, 3-story shop houses. Our tall noise barriers is going to just block up the entire frontage, right? So this is actually a real concern, and because of that, right, we know the sensitivity of this place, and there's rich in heritage as well as history, and it's also a spot which attracts social, cultural, and economic activities. So we went in to carry out engagement as early as practicable. All right. So if we move to the next slide, right. So actually, this slide, in a way, summarizes broadly the what happened from the time we started before 2019. We went in to engage them. Then new ideas along the way came about, right? So this idea of a graffiti wall to be painted on our noise barriers was mooted by OKG, right? We actually study the feasibility, review it, and at the same time, the design process evolved until we painted it sometime in 2021, which even until today, the mural is still standing up there along Ophir Road. And if you have not seen it, well, you can take a stroll along Ophir Road to have to admire this open air art gallery, right? And admission is free. Okay. All right. Move to the next slide. The next slide is or maybe the slide before this. Yeah. Well, to be honest, when this idea was mooted, there was actually quite a lot of uncertainties in terms of feasibility, right? So basically this was never done before, right? So instead of saying no or cannot, well, we just go ahead and think of why not and how to instead. And therefore we started a series of discussions with URA, SDB, and of course OKG, which in a way, and of course we gather our colleagues from various groups and divisions, right? Through several two-way, three-way interactions, and also the iterations in terms of design development, taking into consideration of safety, traffic safety, and the messaging, the comms part, and also about the practical limitations on site, space constraints and site constraints. Yeah, eventually we came to a final design which take into all these into considerations. So if I move to the next slide, right, I would like to take these opportunities to thank all my colleagues working in these groups and divisions who have been involved in the review, in the development of all the visuals and so on, all right, and at the same time safeguarding the interest from the angle of safety, traffic safety, and also the comms part. All right, go to the next slide. Then we will see that that's the painting process. All right, so painting process, yes. Once the artist came on board, right, because project team by then already very familiar with the site already, so we were able to give guidance and advice to them in terms of the working timing, and also in terms of pedestrian movement management, that sort of things. Our civil contractor GS also from NSC also provided some support, like storing some of their equipments used by the artists, like this MEWP as shown in the picture, right? It's a scissor sleeve with a mobile platform where they stand on it to do the painting jobs. Okay, and during our PGIs, right, and also the safety reviews, we also went in to have some chit-chat sessions with the artists to, in a way, this is part of the spirit of inclusivity, right? We treat them as partners of this mini project. Okay, so yeah, so with that, the painting just carries on, and we'll move to the next slide. So finally, it was launched on the 28th of April last year, 2021. All right, launched by OKG, and we also were there, so to witness the opening of the Hall of Fame, and also the opening of the largest art gallery, open air art gallery in Singapore. Okay, so moving to the last page of my slides, which is the next, please. Yeah, this official launch actually attracted some media coverage and also public response. And even our former Minister Ong also posted a video of it in his Facebook, and social media also covered it. And the overall the response from the netizens was very positive. In fact, it's very overwhelming outcome, and definitely much overwhelming than I had thought I had expected initially. Okay, but I'm coming back, coming to the end of my presentation, right? In conclusion, I feel that this special project, in a way, has shown that, in a way, when there's opportunity, well, sometimes construction, art, culture, right, it is possible for them to coexist harmoniously, right? And this happens really. I think we really have to need to have a open mind to new ideas, and along the way, and at the same time, I think we also have to listening ear to understand, to empathize, and of course to really have the genuine heart to just make it happen. All right, and that comes to the end of my sharing, and thank you very much, and back to you, Pei San.
Thank you. Thanks, Kwai. I think it's a beautiful example, no pun intended, of how you brought in all the artists and kind of shared the space with them. I hope you also learned how to paint in the process. So our next panelist is Lorenzo from Lope Lab. He's going to share with us what his company does. Lope Lab specializes in transforming public spaces into more communal ones. And Lorenzo will be sharing some of these examples that he has worked on with us. Lorenzo?
Thank you, Pei San, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lorenzo. I'm the founder of Lope Lab, design studio focusing on placemaking in Singapore. It's pretty exciting to be here today, and it's pretty exciting to see all these efforts already done by LTA, to make our Singapore a better place. We often work with LTA, or we mainly work with URA, but all the government agencies are pretty much involved every time we try to transform a public space. So it's very important, all the sharing that we're doing today. Sorry. Okay. So as I said, I founded Lope Lab in 2015 in Singapore, after a few years that I was living here, because I just wanted to make Singapore even more a better place. And that's why our tagline is "We design for better places." There is always a way to improve. A quick intro about placemaking, and why this is needed. We know this is pretty famous, no? The skyline of Shanghai. Cities are evolving at an amazing pace, mostly in emerging markets. And this can cause a lack of or lose of identity, no? When entire districts are taken down and then new development is built, there is this big loss in terms of connecting people and communities to the space, to the place where they used to live for generations. And so we are seeing people, not only in Singapore, but pretty much all around the world, starting to take action in redesign public spaces in order to make it more like their spaces. And this is called placemaking. Thanks to, if I'm not wrong, was Eileen. She gave a very interesting presentation about what is placemaking. So I will not go too much in details, but this is pretty much what we are considering when we work on a placemaking project. There's always a combination of hardware, software, and hardware. Hardware is the space, the physical transformation or improvement of the space. The software is more like the activations, the programs, and hardware is everything that is behind that. I wanted to make clear in this slide that placemaking is not just literally the event, the road closures or activating the space. There is much more, and a lot is also done behind the scene. A lot is having and defining altogether a communal vision for the space, a long-term visions, coming out with budgets, fundraisings, etc., etc. There is a lot of work behind. So, all the images that you see and the slides are projects that we've done throughout the years in Singapore. So we believe that applying placemaking, is to put people's needs at the heart of the urban growth. So when we start, when we want to improve cities, districts, or neighborhood, we need to start thinking about peoples and not anymore about logistics and movement. Of course, they all have to be considered, but the most important is this human scale, is the people, because what is good for people then is also good for businesses. In this case, it's good for the district, it's good for everyone. And so we call our design, what we do when we use our design methodology, people-centered design. It's not even just the user. No, user makes I think a bit disconnected, but we are really talking about people, and people is me, you, everyone here. So when we think about a space, this is an image of an agora, which was a central square in the Greek cities, in ancient Greece. And as you can see the agora is where everything was happening. There was the market, there was the public speech, there was people, there was exercise and religions activities, etc., etc. So literally the public space was seen as the place where the people were coming together. And this, when I moved to Singapore and I started people were telling me 10, 15 years ago, no, it's too hot to be outside, it's too hot to do these projects outside. And then I started digging into their archives and images and stories, and I found that it was actually happening, and people were occupying the streets, like, in my previous image. And there was a better balance, let's say, between people and, in this case, cars, and the way that the streets and roads are used. And so we managed to kick off starting some project with URA, and we started a series of road closures in the Keong Saik Road. Of course, other agencies were involved, LTA, etc. And we, for a day or two, we got rid of all the cars. And once you get rid of all the cars, you see how much space, public space, we really have for people to come together. Then we've been told that these things were only working in the city center in Keong Saik, because it was, and then we brought the same project in car parks around Singapore. So we went to Bedok, we went to Ang Mo Kio, and we started redesigning. This was a 1 weekend in collaboration with National Art Council. We started designing a piece of car park, redesign a piece of car park for people, for kids, for adults. No, and then we put activities, and as you can see, there's still park available, car parks available for as you can see in the back, but there's also space for people to take back, the public space, to come together, to learn. In this case, there were some workshop on painting, and as you can see, adults were also very wired in. And so I was asked, what is the placemaking? What is difficult? What is the difficult part of placemaking? It really seems every time you have a bold idea, every time it seems impossible. And for me, it's possible until it becomes possible. And I use this image because this is a transformation of a multi-story car park in Jalan Besar. And it took me 3 years or 3 or 4 years in order to transform it into a place for people. And yeah, this is, we're going to see soon. The first video about this was a transformation, was called the Urban Design Festival. Why we did this? Because the research has proven that the top 2 stories were underutilized for most of the time. And so we wanted to give it back to the neighborhoods. And so we created exhibitions, talks, concerts, an F&B restaurants on top, and a roller disco. Here now we can launch a video for this activation. Sorry, I think I need to speed up a little bit. But yeah, as you can see, the space was a transformation of an underutilized space. And it's something that I heard also in some presentation before. Like, it's very important to identify underutilized space and transform them. And now I want to show you like another journey that took many, many years. This was an idea started in Italy in 2005. Now we wanted to have hammocks instead of cars in front of our office. And we just designed this structure. I designed this structure. I paid for the parking lot, and then we installed this. This project became then a bigger project in 2010. I designed this rocking chair, and this was one of the first parklets ever. And it was a rocking chair for 6 people with a map of the neighborhood, so people could also go and find interesting spaces. And then when we came to Singapore, one of the first projects we did in URA was similar. No, it was a parking day, starting from that similar. And we transformed 20 parking lots in Keong Siak. This was 2015, I think. And it took us like 5 years or more, 6, 7 years, to finally turn it into a parklet. We are just, it's almost a year now that we have installed these 7 parklets in Keong Siak, transforming like a parking lot, or usually a car is there, into a mini urban jungle. So, and then you can see one of the many posts on Instagram where people are sharing this, and they love it. And this is, the reward of a project like this, that even if it takes years and years, once you finally achieve what you were wanting to do, it's priceless. And this paid back all the stress and problems. So how LTA can help, to support the community? And that's my mantra: put people first. So in this case, when I go around and I see things that are not correct, I start taking photos, and I finally had the opportunity to share with you guys. I noticed that there are much more slopes for people, for bicycle, for wheelchair to cross, but there are not zebras. So zebras are important, right? This is, I don't know if you're familiar with this, it's a reverse traffic pyramid. So this is how should be given priority when we design our streets. First, people for walking, running, then people on the bicycle, then utility bicycle, all the way down, and the last is the private cars. And I wanted to share this because this is near my place. This road is usually empty, but when it comes to the school, when the school is finishing and the kids are coming out, all the parents are coming to pick up their kid with their own car, and it gets jammed, literally jammed. And it's insane. I find it completely ridiculous that one car for one parent and one kid. And then you see, because you don't give priority to people to cross, then the kids, they have to wait, and the priority is to the parents that come to pick up the kids with their own car. So if we start working on this, if we start changing this priority and we think about the pyramid, this will definitely help to have more people walking. And similar, other photos, now I sold my motorbike last year. I started cycling all around. I found it amazing. It's getting easier and easier compared to 10, 15 years ago. But still, I find, and I wanted to share with you this place where there is a ramp. You should always think about, people walking or people cycling. And, when you put cross zebras, etc., just think if the path is clear for them. I don't know if I have time, but I wanted to share some guerrilla activities, which is something that can be done easily. And we started doing on a Friday afternoon in our office, very simple, with very, very little budget. This was one. There was a bus stop. The area was under renovation a few years ago, and we noticed that there were no seating. So we just arrived and we set up 2 desk chairs, the newspapers, etc. And now we can see the video of this activation. So this was one, very simple, just provide a seat and a newspaper or something to read, and will help the people and not the users. This was on the river, another underutilized space. We had some extra materials, and then we decided to wrap 2 trees together and create a badminton court for during the lunch break. We can see a quick video here. So another very simple, we're just installing fuel in 1 minute or 2. We left there the bat, and then people start playing, nice engagement, something unusual, something fun. And this is probably the last one, is a bench where this uncle is always sitting, and we just wanted, as you can see, we can launch the video. As you can see, it was a bit old bench, and we just decided to go down with some post-it, make it like more colorful, and then also leave some notes, leave some markers so the people could leave some notes to each other or also to the uncles. And the final result was quite exciting because people left very, very nice notes, as well as the face of the uncle when he came and he saw his bench that he's using every day. Look a message like "May peace with you," etc., etc. So now I want to leave you with these questions. Now, technology is transforming our lives, etc. Plus anything else. So now that we can do anything, what we will do? So what can we do all together to make our cities a better place? And sorry for running late.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorenzo. I was laughing as I watched the videos. I thought it was quite courageous that you shared these guerrilla activities with a government agency kind of audience. I'm also fascinated by the post-its. Hope it didn't rain when that took place.
Yeah, no, it's good. It was good. But it's funny because that government agency asked us to do it more. Like, can you do more of this? And I thought, we didn't have many permits. But yeah, but that's the point. That's the point. Maybe we'll discuss later.
Okay, sure. So we have heard a number of project examples. Let me now turn the time over to Yan Ling from URA. She has been a placemaker for many years. And I'd like to invite Yan Ling to share about, the different roles that are involved in placemaking and what kind of superpowers are involved to be a good placemaker. Yan Ling, time over to you.
Thank you, Payson, and thank you so much for having me here. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll add one more project to what LTA was involved in. So this is one of my favorite projects under the Streets for People collection, where we close streets and turn them into public spaces. So this is happening, this actually happened near my house. So immediately we could bring the classroom out from the school into the streets. So very simple, the student actually just brought the tables and chairs from their canteen, and then they are able to set up stalls to sell vegetables from their school and raise donation to plant more trees in the city. And we really showed them possibility that, yes, you can doodle on the road. Yeah, but please, when the road is closed. Okay, so I am a placemaker for 15 years now. So currently I'm working with 3 precincts, Raffles Place, Kampong Glam, and Tanjong Pagar. So I'll show you one of my favorite projects now, which is the making of this beautiful piece of vacant land into a public space in the center part of Tanjong Pagar. This is done in partnership with the stakeholders group called Discover Tanjong Pagar, that's made up by 4 retail malls and 4 hotels in the area. So they call themselves DTP in short, Discover Tanjong Pagar. So it all started with this piece of land that I walk past every day that really irritates me because it's so beautiful, it's central, but yet nothing is done. I don't see people using it. And then came DTP. They were formed in 2019 in September. Their vision is to really turn Tanjong Pagar into a place where people want to be. Especially over weekends, because this is still, after all, very predominantly an office district, and business hotels are surrounding the area. So weekend is generally very quiet. And I think residents like me who is staying behind Pinnacle at Duxton, we go to VivoCity over the weekend. So when DTP said that they want to attract more people, I immediately thought of this piece of land. Maybe it could be a public space, we're not sure. And I remembered that URA do have a stack of plastic IKEA chairs sitting in our basement. So I asked DTP if they would like to test whether we could make this a good space for people. So this land is surrounded by DTP's stakeholders, Oasia Hotel downtown on the left, Orchid Hotel on the right, and where this picture is taken is Guaco Tower. So when I asked them the question, they say, "You sure we can?" So I think private sector are not used to be given that permission to be able to work outside of their precinct. So I said, yeah, why not? Let's try. I'm not sure too myself. And so immediately we brought the chairs from URA Center to Orchid Hotel, who offered to do a jet wash for us, make it clean. And then the Oasia Hotel staff came with their luggage trolley to Orchid Hotel. The 2 hotels don't really normally talk. And then very soon, the hotels, Oasia staff, hotel staff, actually set up the chair into their ballroom. And when we brought Tanjong Pagar residents and the children of DTP to decorate the chairs. So we gave them stickers, colorful stickers that you can see on the slide now, and they started to decorate their own tree on the chair. So very soon, all the 30 pieces became individual, unique artworks on its own. So all in all, this project only cost us $300. Everything else was free, the function room, the chairs itself, the labor, the transport cost. And I donated the ice cream. And then it was only the stickers that cost us $300. So it was quite a lighter, quicker, cheaper method to activate a public space. So we were all tired. You can see us sitting behind the function room. By the end, we finished. But the moment we bring our ice creams to reward the children, look at their faces on the bottom left. That really made them happy. And this is actually the best rewards I can get. So if you're ever thinking of activating a space, bring the ice cream. And I learned from this project that neutral projects like that really connects people, no matter you're a hotel, you're office operator or a tenant. This kind of project brings people together. And always be thick-skinned to ask for help. Generally, people, when they have resources, they are happy to lend a hand. And it's okay not to have answers all the time or a foolproof plan. To be honest, we were really scared that we will have 30 chairs on site, but the next day it all be gone because they're also beautiful. But I went to count the chairs almost every day and they are still there till the day that we removed it because of COVID. And what I wanted to say that is that the moment we put out the chairs in 20 minutes, the Korean tourists who were staying at Orchid Hotel came and then they turned it into a photo spot. And as I pass by the space, I can see people using it for different in different layouts. But there's this lone ranger who always come during lunchtime. I don't know why, but 1 o'clock you'll be sure to see him there suntanning in his t-shirt and his long pants, no less. And during COVID, these chairs proved to be very useful because people would pull the chair, find a tree on their own, and then sit down there to have their lunch for safe distancing. And when COVID came, we kept the chairs, and again, Orchid Hotel helped us to store the chairs and to avoid transportation costs of the chairs back into URA Center. So they are still stored there. We are hoping that one day we'll bring them out again. So in August 2020, we had the opportunity to use the land again. So the NDP community invited us to participate in the national anthem moment. We were given very short notice. We don't know whether stakeholders will be keen to participate, but I called the hotels regardless. And they all said yes, they would like to. And they just asked me, so how many people do you need? I will call my crew to be there. Tell us what time, what date, we will be there. So at that moment, I was really very touched because I think that all the various projects that we are doing together has really bind the stakeholders together that make this project possible and easy to implement. So if you ever find public spaces like that, they are very good places to connect the community. So look out for them. And then when times started to get better in terms of the easing of the COVID, DTP do really want to bring people back into the area. So they started to draw these 14 huts. So what it came about was that I saw this beautiful hut projects in Bristol in UK. So I sent the picture into the DTP chat group and showed them. And then immediately I got a response from this lady in the picture on the right-hand side. She's a resident here, and she said that we should do it in DTP Community Green. And so, yes, the two of us went out to look for quotes to do this heart-shaped stencil. It's not an off-the-shelf thing. So we drew on the PowerPoint, okay, roughly how long it will be in terms of the hut to accommodate 5 packs, and then we got it made. And then I found spray can of paints in my kitchen from the last activation, and I brought it down. The two of us brought our kits, and then the 14 huts were made. So this whole project only cost us $100, and it did get good publicity. It went on to the Straits Times when DTP launched their next project, which is the 100 Tree Movement. So sustainability is a big thing that DTP wants to push. They feel that Tanjong Pagar should be sustainable, greener. It's very, very walkable. So they launched this 100 Tree Movement in December 2020. They pledged that they will raise donation to add 100 trees to this area by starting to donate 16 first to DTP Community Green. And on that very day, they also adopted the space and named it under DTP Community Green. So the naming is quite a new thing. We have never named a park or a space under a precinct association. So this is the first time. And being able to name it under the partnership does give them the confidence to be able to do more. So to date, they have already raised funds for 40 trees. Then they have already been planted in the precinct. So a total of 16,000 has been generated in this area. So soon people hear about Community Green, and we received an application from this group of students who wants to do this project called Project Asago. They want to raise awareness for beyond social services. So what they did was that they got the beneficiary to draw on paper cups, and then they use LED light bulbs to light them up. So all we did was to really facilitate and mentor them. So we showed them how we drew the hearts, and then they say that I'm going to do it at night. Then we realized that, okay, ours in the day, it was already tough enough. You sure you want to do it at night? They said, yeah, we will try. And we were very lucky that we didn't stop them or discourage them and just merely show them how we drew it. And look at how beautiful it is that they created something even better than what we did. So really take risks, have faith in the community. We may not get it right all the time, but if we take risks, there's a chance that we will see something beautiful and something very meaningful. And always share your experience to cultivate new champions. And now we have a new group of placemakers. And just in January this year, DTP has brought a step further. in terms of use of the DTP community green, they created this new eco playground using felt tree logs. So after all the experiments, they have seen enough as to who is going to come to use the space, who do they want to attract, and what will they use it for. And so this whole set of playground is done by Roger and Son in collaboration with DTP. Roger and Son is a local wood craft maker. So this is also their first time making a play set. So there was a lot of learning process between DTP and Roger and Son. So they went out to engage the students at the Mulberry Childcare Center right at Tanjong Pagar Plaza. So I did share with DTP that I once saw the Childcare Center students running around at level 2 of Tanjong Pagar Plaza with no play sets. There was a very dark corners, and the toddlers were actually on strollers and pushed to a glass panel where they looked down into the road. Nothing except for cars passing by the road. So it's really quite sad. So DTP asked them how would they want to play in the space. And we got them to draw. And then the beautiful drawings were translated into play sets. And then we got all these play sets out for the community to vote. So parents, grandparents, children, and members of public voted for their favorite sets. And this is what you see there. So on the opening day, which is this Saturday, the Mulberry children are going to come again to see the play sets. They're going to perform for the community. So there's a sense of attachment now. They're finally seeing their ideas translated. So this place is very versatile. On a weekday afternoon when the kids are off school, this is where they'll meet up. So this little boy and little girl are new. So they just got to meet each other on the playground. And it was quite interesting to see the connections built up. And we've always imagined that creative play is something we want to encourage. It's static, yes, the playground, but we want the children to be able to imagine how play will be like to promote creativity. And so we have on the right-hand side a daddy and a little girl on roller coaster. And in March, when I passed by on a Saturday, it was really encouraging to see this image on the left-hand side. We have always imagined that toddlers will have an open space inside the city to be able to run around freely and safely. So indeed, I saw this picture. So the parents were really, really relaxing on the left and right, but the toddler was really running around on its own. And what is also encouraging is that on the right-hand side, we saw someone post a picture on DTP's Facebook and say that they are cleaning up after they play. So I think we have succeeded in educating the children of how they will enjoy a space as well as on sustainability. And came LTA. So LTA came in February to install crossing. So on the left-hand side, you'll see how people really cross with the cars right beside them. So with LTA's new crossing that was installed across Tras Street and the removal of the car park at the site, you have actually made the streets really walkable and very safe. So we are now very directly connected from Tanjong Pagar Plaza, where the childcare center and the supermarket is, to Guaco Tower. Across in the middle is actually the DTP Community Green with the new playground. And the GM of Carlton City Hotel told me that he once then walked this group of blind Masu who works in Tanjong Pagar Plaza, level 2, on a walk from the train station to their workplace. And they told him that it's definitely much safer now to cross the streets. And this picture on the right-hand side that you see, it's fresh, it's new. Just a few hours ago, DTP sent me this picture that the Mulberry children no longer have to play at the level 2 of Tanjong Pagar Plaza in the dark corner anymore. They are now coming every day to play at this playground, possible by LTA's works. So yes, we have encouraged walkability as well as inclusivity in this area. So really, transportation networks and streets are making a big thing now in overseas city. I love to look at what they are doing to get inspiration. One of the key things that the cities are promoting is really walking, which is also a form of transportation. So how about we add elements of surprise and fun and walking? So some of the streets, you can see little swings and little obstacle courses that people have set up to encourage children to come outside to play. And some of the florists are very creative. They cannot sell the flower. So at night, they will turn the trash can into a flower pot. So the next morning, working crowd comes, is an element of surprise for them. And during COVID, a teacher brought the kids out and he started marking on ground what are these plants. So outdoor streets could also become classrooms. And of course, my boys on the right-hand side, they love to turn Carlton Hotel's bollards into drums. Music or noise, you decide. And in the city of Barcelona, they really want to encourage children to walk as well as improve the air quality around the school without the cars. So they are working with residents, parents, and businesses there. So if a child has a problem trying to get from the school back home, they can always walk into one of the shops to get help. And over at Bankside in London, the Business Improvement District really want to champion cycling to create a healthier, cleaner and safer London. So what they did is that they organized regular breakfast sessions and clinics to teach people how to maintain and repair their bikes. They also installed very simple cycling parks and pit stop where you can do simple repair for your bikes. And if you're not sure whether you want to cycle to work, they will lend you a Brompton to try first. And in COVID, I'm quite sure LTA has seen some of this transformation too. We realize that cities who are able to react the fastest, the ones who were studying car-like strategies very early and have been engaging the communities. So they use the opportunity to turn some of the changes they want to make into experiments. And from experiments, we know that some of them are now making them permanent. And this is one of the beautiful stations in Portugal. So these are artworks that they created at a waiting area inside the train station. So what is special here is that this is a place where people linger and they have the depth to admire the artworks. So like what Wei Ming said, I think it really cues what you would expect in the precinct. I guess there is opportunity for train stations to become the front desk of a precinct, showcasing what is going on, the events, activities, and some of the artworks and the people behind the precinct. So similarly for bus stops, they can also house a teaser advertisement for zoo and even micro gardens. So good design is very important. So in Bourke Street in Melbourne, what we can see here is that the tram stations are lined very close to the shop. So in the morning, you can just get a coffee or newspaper, hop onto the tram, and there you go to your workplace. I like to take pictures of my neighborhood and other public spaces, and I would also love to walk around the neighborhood. So this is actually what I saw within 14 minutes of my morning walk. I see couples walking, someone jogging, someone with child, and then kids, the dogs meet. And most importantly, the elderly could get to the market and meeting up with their friends. So streets can also be social spaces. Yeah, so streets can also become art gallery spaces. So here the tour guide is explaining Yu Chong's artwork in detail. And maybe to LTA is just adding a crossing, but this elderly, it could mean getting safe time to cross the road and to get to meet their friends or get to work. And in URA, the next step is really to do up place plans, as what Wei Ming and Yulin were sharing earlier. So we are coming together to build place plan with the community to allow them to participate in placemaking of their precinct. So the first place plan will be launched in Kampong Glam very soon. So placemaking is really about making place better, if I just break down the words into two. And it's really about the rights of the space, who has priority over it, and most importantly, what do we want our children to inherit from us in the future? And I will leave you with this table as to what placemaking really is. I think the earlier panelists has already discussed this earlier. And the 6 Bs, those who have heard my earlier presentation in the last round when I shared with LTA, I've added the new one, to be humble, to keep learning and keep rethinking, because we may not know the answer all the time, or we may not be right all the time. So these are little placemakers by my uncles and aunties. So if you are thinking that you are not a placemaker, think about them. They could just really turn a space around by adding a little TV to share with their neighbors, or just bring a food, pull the chair from the coffee shop to create a space. So really, I think the superpowers that I have in my job is to be able to, through what I do, create lovable spaces, spaces that people will come and create memories. Building community so friends get to know each other when they enjoy the public spaces. bring a smile to somebody's face, which I'm quite sure that you could do too, and sharing knowledge and hoping that I could pass on to my children and they can create a better space than when I found them for future generations. So I'll leave this last quote, which is LTA's tagline, which I really love and I think it's very meaningful and powerful. It's connecting people, places, and possibilities. I think the word possibility came out in my presentation a few times. I must say that if I interpret what you are saying in my own way, I think that it's really shifting our focus from delivering a project, meeting the budget and the deadline, to think about who matters first in this space and how they can benefit from our job. And from there, magic will happen. Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yan-Ling. And thanks to all our panelists for the sharing. We do have quite a number of questions in the online Q&A. We've got about 15 minutes left, so I think let's go straight into the questions. If I can get the Slido frame up, please, then we'll be able to push up the question and have a look. So the first question is about how LTA, how will we be able to design and maintain the permanent placemaking elements, which thereafter may not be within our maintenance mandates. And for this question, perhaps I can invite Wee Ming to take this question. Sounds like a planning parameters kind of thing.
Yeah, I suppose I can. I will just share my view on how I see this. I think I mentioned a little bit about like needing to build relationship with the ground groups, right? I think this is actually a two-way street lah. So what we are trying to do here, I don't think it's really to accede to every of the wish list that you hear, you know, from individuals, like they want this bench of a certain color or they want, you know, this or that. I think it has to be, you know, some give and take, right? So for the MRT station, for instance, right, why we needed to find a precinct champion like Civic District, why we work with Arts House Limited, right? It's because what we're interested in is the collective. And Arts House Limited is able to represent that entire precinct, the interests of different groups, not just of an individual, right? And then when you have this central entity, you are able to then get some skin in the game from them as well lah. So like I said, they couldn't afford the cost of renting the spaces or using the spaces. So on our end, the gift is we try to get that space free for them to use, but they still have to pay for the production cost. So I think if you take that example into what the question here is asking, in terms of the maintenance part, right? Actually, if people come to me with ideas of that, or they want to introduce this or that, or they want to have more benches or whatever, I think the question back to that group is that, okay, then what is it that you are prepared to do, you know, beyond just saying that you need one bench or one more bench and extra stuff, right? Are you galvanizing the community? You know, do you have a whole group of residents around here that are really interested in doing this? And if so, right, then centrally you all can organize yourselves so that what the outcome the LTA and all the agencies can see downstream, right, is that this becomes something that the ground will really own, right? And in tandem, then the maintenance part, I think the costing is also something that you can then put to them to say that you all should also look into potentially funding this portion as well lah. So it's not all on LTA. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Wee Ming. So I hear points about finding willing partners and then kind of like negotiating the different roles and more importantly, the sustainability part of it. So not just a one-off request. Thanks for that. There's also a question regarding orgware, and I believe that term came up in Lorenzo's slides. One of your slides talked about the hardware, software, and this phrase, which is often a grey and underemphasized area. So any advice for us in government sectors and how the government and stakeholders can work on this?
Yes, it's a pretty complex question, but what I can say is that we have often worked with Lee Kuan Yew Schools of Policies to follow us in our project, like for instance, the Urban Design Festival, and with them trying to find out how can different government agencies can come together and work together with us on placemaking projects, because the main issue I think is always like align everybody, all the different agencies, and that is really it's really complex. Like for me, if I can say very simple, the solution was to sit in the same room, around the same table. And when someone was raising their questions, and there was someone else answering immediately. Because otherwise, if you enter in the back and forth of emails or people assuming that certain things cannot be done or assuming certain problems, then you will never get out. So yeah, so I think the answer would be there is a double effort that needs to be done. One is trying to find a better way for agencies to share more, to work better together. And on the other side is also trying to be positive, being proactive, being supportive, getting together into the same room and immediately answer potential issues, because yeah, otherwise it will never get out.
Okay. I take your words that is a potentially complex and long answer. We can have a longer chat after this.
Yeah, we can.
Thanks for that. The next question is quite specific. It talks about the Kampong Glam case study that Kwaya was sharing. So I believe that before the success of the case, there was a bit of initial uncertainty, given that it's new and untested. So how did the project team overcome these? And if I may add a question on top of this, because I think that's something in the minds of many of our engineers. So Kwaya, you're overseeing the civil project office on site. How did you take on this? Like, is it extra work for you? You know, extra work for our project team? How does it dovetail with what you're already doing?
All right, yeah. Okay, I'm grateful that there's these questions coming from the audience. But basically, I think he shared the same sentiment with me about the initial uncertainty. I think really for this case study, I think what the project learned is also part of our lessons learned was that the challenge is actually always at the front part, the initial part. That at the very initial part, that's where there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of resistance, inertia to kickstart things. So basically, is to overcome that very front inertia. Then initiatives like placemaking and any other initiatives will tend to come into place progressively. So at the very beginning, due to the high level of uncertainties, right? So there tends to be a lot of assumptions, right? So when this concept actually got mooted by OKG, to be frank with you, we were a bit uncertain, very uncertain. So we were thinking, oh, what is OKG trying to come up with? So when the first concept design came out with, it was actually very, very different from what it is now at the site. Right? It can be pretty psychedelic and it's like almost like those very fiesta type of design. Our very first concern is really uncertainty. Then we are also concerned, will OKG actually insist to have this type of design, and what if like that, what if that, what if this? So there's a lot of this kind of what if. So I think in order to answer this question, how do we overcome this, is really to make the uncertainties more certain, right? But how do we do that? How do we do that? Is really about, I think I have to agree and share the same sentiment with what Wee Meng and Lorenzo has said. This got to be a two-way conversation, right? It can't be just one way, and one way then you assume after a few months then their ideas may change, that kind of thing. So the best thing is to, at the very beginning, make as certain as possible those uncertainties, right? Then make it like a two-way conversation, right? To really genuinely tell the stakeholders, for this case is OKG, that yes, this is your design, but we do have our concerns, right? We do have concerns because we are installing these noise barriers right in front of the road, main road junction and main thoroughfare. So there is things concerned about distractions to motorists, right? So that initially there were some designs on their concept design, which we thought that it may pose certain distractions. And originally, they do even have some kind of three-dimensional sculptures to be mounted on our noise barrier. That sort
Wow, okay.
so it's pretty wow, if I can say. So that's why when we generally told them that there's this safety concerns and potential distractions to motorists. Well, we were surprised they actually accepted our comments, and really I think it's really two ways about what Wee Meng has said is about trust building, right? I suspect that the OKG, they themselves also quietly got a little surprised when we in a way accepted their ideas. So it's like a reciprocate two-way thing, right? So I thought that is something which I think personally I've learned as well in this Kampong Glam case study, right? Okay, all right, so I come to your second question. That is very interesting. Okay.
Maybe a quick few words of advice for our engineers.
Sure. Stakeholders management is actually always part of project management, right? Especially in such a major public project, right? In front, so close to the communities. So project teams in LTI, I believe that they don't just manage construction works or supervise construction works. Right? They look after a broad spectrum of scope of works and activities. I think that would include progress, quality, safety, risk, and also stakeholders, communication, procurement, and so on. So we're actually used to managing these multi-fold of responsibilities and while executing our construction works safely. I mean, it is important to know that how we plan and execute our works really affect the stakeholders, right? And how they respond sometimes can also affect us in our works. So, but I think just just to keep it simple, basically project teams, they don't work alone, you see. We have supports. We have supports from various groups and divisions. And for this case, we have supports from TRO, QSMO, and CPN, of course, and IDE as well, right? So basically, we work as a team.
Good to hear that. Thank you. So what I'm hearing is it's not, it may not be like extra work. It's already part of the work that's ongoing. Yeah. Thanks for that. There's one question on how do we balance the different objectives. So perhaps I can pose this to Eileen and Yan-Ling. And the question is how should we balance the need for such community spaces against the need, for road accessibility and the bread and butter like functional needs. Yeah. Perhaps Eileen? Yeah.
Okay. Ken, I think it's very important that before we embark on any projects, we engage the stakeholders. Then we can set priorities, users' priorities. We set rules of sharing the space. And in fact, in LTA, for a lot of the road repurposing project or any placemaking projects, right? It didn't take off as planned because why? When we engage the stakeholders, they may not agree with how we want to do the placemaking or pedestrianize their roads. So this is something I find that we are very proactive in this. We go out and engage them, hear their views, get their inputs, and we work towards something that what they want, because it's really enlivening their estate. So I think that is a way that we can manage this. Maybe Yan-Ling, because we're running out of time, you can share, URA's view, because I think we also work very closely with URA when coming to, all these road repurposing project. We consult each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Eileen. For my side, I think I work mainly on the temporary road closure. I also believe that not all roads need to be closed. There is still a need for vehicle access, especially for emergency vehicles and those who really need a car. For me, I really want to go back to the Streets for People project. We were able to close some 260 over car-free zones because people really want it. We have people stepping forward like Lorenzo, who really want to test out when the road is closed, what will happen. And you can see from his picture, really magic happened. without trying and without taking that risk to allow him to do so, we wouldn't have imagined how a place would be like. And then, of course, Lorenzo went a step further to do the Parklet project. So it's really an advancement to the Streets for People project. I think what we have seen is that the shops really want to do it so that they can see how a place could be vibrant. I think one of the most successful one that we did was in Armenian Streets. We supported the Peranakan Museum, I think it was 3 times for their road closure for their festival, Peranakan Festival. And then eventually the street became a park. So I think it's really through experimentation. We could see what is people's response. If they don't like it, so be it. We have tried and tested. If they like it, we could advance further, like how Lorenzo has done it for Kyongseap. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Yan Ling. So I thought, looking at the time now, let me just end with one closing question for all our panelists. If you could offer, in one sentence each, what can you tell those who want to try out placemaking and create the magic that Yan Ling mentioned, but not sure where to start? Lorenzo, would you like to go first?
I think they just need to be, the way I see it is like, I walk around, I'm curious, I see an underutilized assets or space. I think about, it would be cool to have this here for, for these people, etc. And then I just try to share with people. So sharing, engaging other people, and just do it literally, something small, do it. And then it will grow. You will see in my project, it takes 10 years maybe to do, or 5 years, but they always start small.
Okay, I hear you. Wee Meng?
Yeah, I echo Lorenzo. I was thinking just do it as well, like if you're thinking one sentence. But I think LTA, we also got a motto, right? Dare to try, right? I see it plastered over the transformation office wall and all that. I think dare to try is really it. A lot of times we get too caught up with the downstream thinking, like, do we have enough resources to do this? Like if we do this one little thing, then bosses ask us to scale up, then how? All those things, right? I think bosses are reasonable people. If you have the will, you got the idea, you got the partners down there, right? Just do it first. And then when it happens, we need to scale, then you can look for, partners, discuss again with bosses. Yeah.
Thanks. Just do it, dare to try. Eileen?
Yeah. So like I shared earlier, I think we should start thinking for the good work that we have been doing, what can we do to multiply the value of those transport infrastructure that, we have built. Yeah. So with that mindset, you will naturally put on your placemaking lens when you're doing your work.
Okay, get the mindset right. Thanks. Kwaya?
I think placemaking is about creating meaning, purpose to the place, and it's got to be experiential and able to connect with people. And I think it involves community engagement, that sort of things. And also it has to, in a way, create good memories, be it social or familiar or even personal or cultural. I think I'll just repeat what I've just said. Just keep an open mind and look out for opportunities. They will come.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, open mind and opportunities. Yan Ling, apart from ice cream.
I just want to say that I'm a resident, okay? I'm not URA. I just want to say that just go and do it. If something is wrong, the agency will call you, so don't worry. So if the thing is right, it's just a few hours and it's gone. Okay, so I'm URA again.
I like that. If something is wrong, someone will call you, but otherwise go ahead, like the guerrilla activities that we see. Thank you. Thanks very much to all our panelists. Pity that the timing is quite short. Indeed, a very rich topic that we could easily do a half-day conference or seminar on this. So we've now come to the end of this segment. And thank you to our audience as well for joining in. We'll now take about a 13 minutes break until the next segment, which is on supporting our people in transformation. So please do join us again at 3:15 p.m. So in the meanwhile, please continue to explore the microsite. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.